Hey, howdy. All right. All right. Good morning, everybody. We're just doing a little bit of testing of the new setup. Um, got a new connector in here, and we definitely want to make sure that is working before we leave the station here this morning. So I hope that all of you are doing well. We've got a couple of things to look at this morning. Just waiting a second for the bot to fire so that folks in the channel can see that we are actually live. But I hope you're doing well where you are. Yesterday was a really interesting day. And looking back, I'm going to try to correct a couple of things this morning, particularly when it comes to Kara's work. I thought she and Luigi both did some really interesting updates, and actually I think I'm going to cover both of them. Even though I circled back with them, and we kind of had a conversation. About like elevating that work. But what's really interesting to me is some of the work that Kara did on hers, and I don't think I properly highlighted it, and I think it's to everybody's benefit. Not only do I want to give her props for doing like a really bang up job, but I also want to like point out, why some of the hidden values that go into the work that she did, and those are often sometimes well, no, not often, sometimes those are often overlooked. So let's go ahead and jump on into it. I gotta rearrange my windows here just a wee bit so I can kind of see what the hell's going on. Hey, Chris Courtney here, New Pragmatic. It is time for the feedback loop. It's a lovely midweek. It's Wednesday, and yesterday we were looking at some projects. I sent some stuff back for Kara and Luigi, and one thing that I didn't really focus on, and I should have focused more on, is these are component exercises, okay, and I spent a lot of time looking and talking about structure because they'd used assets that weren't part of the exercise. But what I missed was the great disparity between the two. There was a disparity there that I didn't really get into, and it was the components themselves. So we're going to take a look back at that. And then I know Rebecca's got a client, and they're working through a branding exercise, and I'm going to take a peek in on that as well. Also, rapid fire. If you've got questions, throw them into the feedback loop or daily stand-up section for the paid New Pragmatic students. And let's get underway. So the first thing I'm going to want to look at is this is the update that Kara came through with yesterday. And one thing I'll say, Kara, is it's always great to like keep the old versions of what you have, just so you can see the modification over time. That's one of the things I do like about what Luigi has over here, is that you can definitely see like here's where he started and here's where he ended up. And I really think that like Luigi, I think where you ended up from a design perspective was really nice. Same thing. That's actually, let's move Rebecca's project over so we can just quickly go back and forth here. I would say the same thing here for Kara's. From a design perspective, this is really nice. Where Kara's takes a big leap forward is when you look at the level of detail that's gone into her components. This is what a well thought out library can do for you. And what I mean by that is she has a number of things here. And I'm going to kind of hide the side elements so we can zoom in and take a closer look. She has a number of things here that are always necessary. And this really goes back to the concept of states. You're going to have an inactive, you're going to have a hover, you're going to have an active. here it's empty, active, and complete. And complete is like, this is like a password. Um, Having, again, active, inactive, having these just already set up makes prototyping infinitely faster. And it also makes adjustments infinitely faster because you already have those assets created. You don't have to go and recreate them. And that was the real difference. Well, actually, that's one of two differences between Kara's work and Luigi's work. Luigi's work, I think, is, at the end of the day, if you look at it, it is as good as what Kara has from a solution perspective. But from an actual fundamental underpinning, Kara's going to be able to work much faster over time. And that's because she's taken the time to not only create the components, but accurately organize them. And as this becomes more organized, you're going to want to have separate pages. Like, you would have a form page, and then maybe you have a cards page, and so on, or frame. I keep saying page when I mean frame. But when we look over at Luigi's, while this is a very nice solution, when we look at the components are pretty sparse. And there were no components, there were little to no components used over here on the new exercise. Like, that's just auto layout. This is a frame. There are some groups within, but these are not components. Okay, so my point here is that it's going to take longer for Luigi to create new designs based on this this system he's developed, versus Kara. Kara's getting much closer into the realm of system. Okay, and I haven't really talked about design systems because there's an argument over, well, what qualifies as a design system. Okay, what really qualifies as a design, air quotes, system? And some of it is culture, some of it is process, some of it is physical assets. Okay, if there's actually a design system conference that I would highly encourage everybody who's interested in design systems. I would highly encourage you to sign up for Clarity next time it comes around, because it's clearly going to be online. Okay, and I'm super excited about all these conferences having to go online. I don't want to ever attend a conference again. I don't want you to have to book a plane and get a hotel room. I want you to be able to pay like a relatively small stipend, like $50, and go attend that conference. Okay? Support these conferences, but they need to support you, and they need to give you a better price point. But I'm looking for that from Clarity. UX Camp in Chicago just did it. It's $5. $5. It's like a half-day thing, but it's $5. $5 of dedicated conversation around UX. That is in June. Go look at I tweeted it out a few days ago. Also, if you do not have the means to buy a ticket to, actually, you know what? Let's just take a second. Let's take a second and go over here to UX Camp. Chicago Camps. Chicago Camps and UX Home Edition. Right there it is. So this is a one-day mini conference, and okay, so now it's $10. Okay, $10 whole, 10 whole smackers, and Kim Goodwin, author Kim Goodwin, designing for the digital age. That you're gonna get speakers like Kim. Okay, Kim's the headliner, but in this realm. Okay, and Kim is fantastic. You can go watch some of her stuff on YouTube right now, but the thing I like about the conference is there's always opportunities to ask questions, and it's new material. So UX Camp, gotta go. Okay, but at events like that, you're gonna get into conversations around system, and I think it's really important. I think it's really important. I did see somebody mention an Australian designer I follow said, "Yeah, I was using a design system, and boy, is this great! And wow, does this suck the life out of designing?" And I guess maybe a little. If if your concept of design is purely visual, then maybe. The other side of that is not if you're helping create the system. You have to elevate up. You have to first show that you can. You get the idea. You know how to make some stuff. You then have to show that you can work with a system. And for Kara and Luigi, Eve was just there. The next chapter is working with the system. Okay, a system has already been created. Now you've got to create with it. All right. What happens after you work successfully with the system? You become part of the team that creates that system. Okay? And that is where, for a visual designer, that's where the creativity is. Okay? For somebody who thinks interface is, more of your thing. And I'm not going to say better. I'm going to stop myself. I'm going to stop myself. A little Sean Connery. What I want to really focus on is it's not better, it's just more your jam. And I think it's okay to have something that's more your jam. Suddenly I've freaked out. I'm like, is my mic on? It's okay to have something that's more your jam that isn't somebody else's jam. But in the grand scope of this, we need to be doing, when we're building projects, it needs to be more like what Kara has here. Okay? So Kara, great work. I was super excited when I dove into your components. Like I looked at the solution and I said, okay, we've got a decent solution. Now how are the components? And boom, here it is. This is what we want. This is what we want. And every project that you do, it should have a base under it like this. Okay? You're going to be able to create so much faster. All right. So excellent work. Luigi, obviously, great solution. But we need to get a base under it so you can create faster. All right? So with that said, I'm going to shift over here to Rebecca. Yeah, I did want to just take that detour. I'm going to check the notes here. Also, we are all the way through affinity mapping on the new project. So I'm going to be releasing personas and personas, stories, and flows. Those are the next 3 up. And once I get personas, stories, and flows in, you get a sense that I'm getting pretty deep into the new UX projects that are coming out. So just know that's we've got a little bit more to do, but we're getting deep into it. I think we're like on if I get through flows, I'll be on like lesson 11 or 12 for that new project. So like that's a couple of weeks of work for you folks that are wanting to dig in. Let's take a peek at what Rebecca has here, and she said that her client was wanting to go tall instead of long, and that's a real challenge, considering that you have the trying to get back over to Rebecca's notes here. She wants either a different mark or maybe nothing at all. Didn't like the leaves. Okay. Like the stacked idea better than the length. Okay. We finalized the color scheme. I'll let your feedback on those 2 ideas. If you have a better idea for a mark, add it you as an editor. Okay, finalize color scheme, top right. Let's see what you got here. Okay, so I'm guessing we're over here, and yeah, okay, so you've got, looks like you're going with Helvetica. So this is like taking a radically different direction than what you had yesterday. So from this perspective, when you're moving off into this direction, this is where I want to go. I want to go Bauhaus, and I'm gonna gonna pull up one of your darker colors here so we can see it. This is where I begin to, instead of going into that direction, I just want to make sure I get the name right. It's Relevate. So this is where I start going into, you know, this sort of thing, and you know, we can say 40. What was there was another word in here, resiliency. I'm not sure how that got into the, oh, never mind. So here you have like the brand, and something like that, where you're just playing off straight typography. That, you know, when I see you breaking out this, I see you going with this it's, you know, it's clean. It's very clean. You're focused on hierarchy, alignment, typographical usage. There's nothing wrong with it. It is a bit done, but it depends on the space. Okay. If this were to show up at Target, I'd go, oh, it's if you put this in red, it's Target. All right. You know, just to prove the point. And Target, for those unaware, you might be watching this from somewhere else. That's like a North American grocery store, if you will. It's kind of like a Tesco. No, not Tesco. I'm really terrible at thinking of other Target-like outfits. But anyway, you put that in white, and you put this in red, and suddenly it's a product at Target. Or actually, it's not a product at Target. It's just Target. But is it bad? No, it's not bad. Let's go back to the color that you have, though. So you've got this. You got this scheme. You know, this is where if you want it to come back with, you know, some sort of square, you could come back with some. We can come back with like a number of things here. That could reverse out of this. Maybe indicate that it's for a face or it's for hands, you know, some sort of illustration that could kind of reverse out of that space, and give you like that mark. You can also, it really depends on it depends on the overall style of your client. But when I look at this, I really think the logo it's more about just, I want to be as clean as possible. Now, I look at some of the colors here, and if this is going to be like the dark blue, I'm kind of guessing that's going to be the thing. You know, then, you know, my question is, well, do I do something with, you know, I think of this in like layers, and, you know, is it then something where you of course, this gets a little hinky because of that, but if you flipped it around and then said that, it doesn't. It feels very New York City subway at that point. Like that feels like where three of the lines might come together. But this is all about where you experience it, and maybe that would be something that the person would like. I would also look at like maybe something disjointed, where they're evenly spaced vertically, but they have some movement to them horizontally. I could also get on board with some sort of, not to go Flintstones on you, but some sort of movement here that encourages you to like maybe look at some different shapes. And again, this is I'm thinking about this in terms of it's like a makeup and it's like layers on the skin. But I don't know a lot about that space, to be honest with you. I wash my face and I think I give myself a glow up. So I actually said that and my wife thought it was hilarious yesterday. Although like boy, is that where we're at with quarantine? Like, oh, washing your face is like a big deal. Maybe it is. I don't know. But it's kind of what I see based on your client has pushed far and hard away from this and more into this camp. Like when I look at that, I go, okay, well, there's nothing wrong with this as long as you've got really strong typographical usage. And I do think that with makeup, from what you've shown in the space, it's not uncommon to lead with the brand, and have everything else secondary. Another thing I would look at, between you and me, is I would look at coming back with color, as like a starting point for like the wrapping of the label. And what I mean by that, I'll actually show you in just a moment. So here you have the black and the color is kicking in here. The idea is that this label would go all the way around, obviously, and this would be like where the glue would be on this side, and then it would like go around the bottle and affix itself to this edge. It'd be clean to that. You could also go the other way with it and say, okay, like the instructions could be on this, and then where it transitions over, this is where the name of the product is, and maybe it comes back just a tad, to ensure that the label wraps properly. And again, now we're getting into product design. Now we're getting into physical label design, something I don't really cover in the program, but we're talking about it. But I would see putting a little bit of color on the other end, just to make sure that it well, actually, you don't need that, because it's going black to blue, and that's fine. Like, it would be fine. But that's something I would look at. Whatever, you could put instructions or whatever into this space, and because this side's always going to be on top of this, it wouldn't matter what the overlap was, provided that you have enough space for this. You always want this to take up more space, so that when it hits the shelf, you essentially see you see a little bit of blue to that side, and you see a little bit of black to that side. That's kind of like the shelf presence that you're looking for. And again, this is going back to that bottle that we talked about using yesterday. Um, but yeah, that's really all I've got. That goes a radically different direction from where you were. But if these are the colors that your clients want to use, that's kind of how I would use them. I'm not a hater on Helvetica. It's super good with me. I like it. I like it a lot more than some of this other stuff. But I it's tough. I think this is a better. I think this is a better design, but I don't know. I don't know enough about your client to know if it like really matches them. Okay, and so you'll have to sort that out. Um, but yeah, for those of you uh, making your components, I really encourage you to follow the model that Kara has put forth here. Um, know that there's more forthcoming in the program with new exercises. I'm working on that pretty much constantly right now. It's been a really good kickoff to May, and it's gonna be May. Um, See, that was a really really lame inside 90s joke. But yeah, hey, Chris Courtney, new Pragmatic. Take care, and I'll see you. I'll see some of you later today because I got meetings. Lisa, I know you're coming up. Chelsea, Chelsea's a new name to those here. Hopefully, we'll be seeing a lot more from her soon. And yeah, everybody else, see you tomorrow. Take care.